20 empty chairs surrounded a frozen-themed birthday cake while my 6-year-old daughter Emma asked the question that shattered my heart. Mommy, why doesn't Grandma love me? My name is Isabella Calloway, and this is the story of how a single dollar changed everything. How I went from family scapegoat to the person who held my mother's professional future in my hands. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It started on October 15th with the loneliest birthday party I've ever witnessed. To understand that empty birthday party, you need to know the Whitfield family hierarchy. 15 years ago, when I was 17 and 7 months pregnant, my mother Margaret made her position crystal clear. You've ruined our family's reputation. A Whitfield doesn't become a teen mother. While I spent my nights nursing Emma and studying for my GED by lamplight, my younger sister Sophie was being groomed for greatness. Piano lessons, SAT tutors, summer programs at Yale. The Christmas I gave birth, Sophie got a BMW for her sweet 16. I got an eviction notice from my childhood bedroom. Sophie's the family's hope, Mom would tell anyone who'd listen at her country club. Stanford bound, pre-med track, everything a mother could want. The unspoken comparison hung in every conversation like smoke. What she never mentioned at those lunches was that I'd graduated summa cum laude from State University while working 3 jobs, or that I'd earned my MBA from Wharton through their executive program, attending classes after putting Emma to bed. Those achievements didn't fit her narrative of the ruined daughter who'd thrown her life away. My husband David would get so frustrated. Why don't you tell them about your promotion? About the patents pending? But I'd learned long ago that in the Whitfield family, there was only room for one success story, and that role had been cast before Emma was even born. The pattern was so predictable it almost became comforting. Sophie's accomplishments were broadcast in the annual Christmas letter. Mine were edited out like typos. Sophie got celebrations. I got reminders of my mistake, their word for my daughter. The exclusions started small, almost imperceptible. Thanksgiving 2019. Oh, Isabella, we didn't think you'd come since Emma has that flu. She didn't. Christmas 2020. Sophie needs quiet to study for her AP exams. Easter 2021. The restaurant only had a table for 6. By Emma's 3rd birthday, the pattern was undeniable. No cards from grandparents. No pictures of her in my parents' house, where Sophie's achievements wallpapered every surface. Honor roll certificates, lacrosse trophies, prom queen crown. When relatives asked about their other grandchild, Mom would say, "Sophie's an only child. You must be thinking of someone else." The cruelest part was how she'd weaponized the extended family. Margaret made it clear, my cousin Janet told me once, after declining Emma's birthday invitation. We can have a relationship with you, or we can stay in the family, not both. David reached his breaking point during the infamous Easter incident of 2023. Mom had invited all 47 members of our extended family to a celebration, everyone except us. When Sophie accidentally mentioned it, Mom's response was surgical. "Some tables aren't meant for everyone, Isabella. You made your choice." That night, David held me while I sobbed. "She's punishing Emma for existing," he said. "How long are we going to let this continue?" I wanted to believe things would change, that Mom would wake up one day and see the brilliant, kind granddaughter she was missing, that Sophie would question why her niece was never at family gatherings, that someone, anyone, would stand up and say this was wrong. But families like mine don't change through hope. They change through leverage. I just didn't know I was about to acquire some. 3 years ago, a headhunter named Marcus Chen called me out of the blue. "Isabella, Tech Vision needs someone who can transform our creative division. Your work at Morrison Industries caught our attention, specifically that campaign that increased their market share by 40%. I almost said no. The imposter syndrome my mother had cultivated in me whispered that I wasn't ready, wasn't worthy. But Emma was watching me that day, drawing at our kitchen table, and I realized I was teaching her to shrink by example. The first project I led at TechVision generated $4.7 million in new revenue within 6 months. The second doubled that. By year 2, Marcus was calling me his secret weapon and offering me a consulting contract that would make me the highest paid creative consultant in the company's history. "You're the creative genius we've been looking for," he said during one board meeting, not knowing that my own mother had been telling her friends I was between jobs and struggling since the divorce. There was no divorce. David and I were stronger than ever. I made a conscious decision not to tell my family about TechVision. They never asked about my work. Mom had decided my story years ago. To her, I was forever frozen as the teen mom who'd destroyed her perfect family narrative. Why correct her? She wouldn't believe it anyway. But here's the thing about secrets. They're also weapons waiting to be deployed. And as I signed my name on that $2.3 million contract, with Clause 7.3 giving me final approval on all board nominations, I realized my mother had been circling TechVision's board opening for months, telling everyone she was a shoo-in. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony. October 15th, 3 p.m. Emma's Frozen-themed birthday party was perfect. Ice blue streamers, snowflake decorations, a 3-tier cake with Elsa and Anna. 47 invitations sent to family members. 0 RSVPs. At 3:30, Emma stood at the window in her princess dress, pressing her small hands against the glass. "Maybe they're just late, Mommy?" By 4 p.m., the truth was undeniable. David showed me his phone, a screenshot from my cousin of the family group chat I'd been excluded from. Mom's message was there in black and white. "Anyone who attends that child's party will not be welcome at Sophie's Stanford send-off celebration. Choose wisely." 47 family members, not one chose Emma. I watched my daughter blow out 6 candles alone, her wish whispered so quietly I couldn't hear it. But I saw her lips move. "Please." "Maybe if I was better, Grandma would love me," Emma said later, cake untouched, tears streaming. "Maybe if I got good grades like Aunt Sophie talks about. Maybe if I—" "Stop." I knelt before her, my own tears falling. "You are perfect exactly as you are. This isn't about you, baby. This is about them." David's jaw was clenched so tight I thought it might crack. "Bella, enough is enough. She's 6 years old. She's done nothing but exist, and they treat her like she's invisible." That night, after Emma cried herself to sleep clutching her unused party favors, I opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, years of conditioning telling me to keep the peace, don't make waves, be the bigger person. Then I looked at the photo on my desk. Emma on her first day of kindergarten, smile bright despite already knowing her grandparents wouldn't be there. I started typing. 3 days after Emma's empty party, my phone buzzed at 7 p.m. Mom's contact photo, her professional headshot from her banking days, filled the screen. "Need $1,150 for Sophie's Stanford send-off party. Fairmont Ballroom, October 26th. The whole family's coming. Even your Uncle Robert from Boston. It's going to be magnificent. 200 guests, featured in the society pages. Sophie deserves this." I read it twice, then showed David. He laughed, but it wasn't humor. It was disbelief. The text continued. "I know money's tight for you, but this is your chance to do something right for once. After all the embarrassment you've caused this family, it's the least you can do. Sophie shouldn't suffer because of your choices." All the embarrassment. I rolled the words around my mouth like broken glass. My daughter, my brilliant, kind, loving daughter, was an embarrassment. Another text. "The caterer needs confirmation by October 20th. Don't make me ask twice. You owe Sophie this after making us skip that child's party." That child. Not Emma. Not your daughter. Not my granddaughter. That child. David was reading over my shoulder. "Please tell me you're not going to—" "Oh, I'm going to respond," I said, typing the word sure, but not hitting send. Not yet. "Bella, what are you planning?" I thought about the contract sitting in my home office. About Clause 7.3. About Mom's board application that she'd been bragging about for months, telling everyone she was guaranteed the position because of her connections and understanding of corporate governance. I'm going to give her exactly what she deserves, I said. Every single penny of it. The sure sat in my message field, unsent, waiting, like a loaded weapon with the safety still on. October 19th, 9 a.m. TechVision's headquarters gleamed in the morning sun, 40 floors of glass and ambition. In the executive boardroom, Marcus Chen slid the contract across the mahogany table. Isabella, this makes you our highest-paid consultant in company history, $2.3 million over 2 years, plus performance bonuses. My hand was steady as I signed, but my mind was on Clause 7.3, buried on page 12. Consultant shall have final approval authority on all board of director nominations during the contract period. You've earned this, Marcus continued. That Phoenix Project proposal, revolutionary. The board is especially impressed. Speaking of which, we have several candidates for the open position, a Margaret Whitfield among them. Any relation? I kept my expression neutral. She's my biological mother. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Really? She told the nomination committee she had one daughter at Stanford, never mentioned you. We're estranged. I see. He studied me carefully. Well, her application is strong. Former bank executive, good connections. Though she did make some interesting claims about recruiting our top talent. Said she had a hand in bringing our best people aboard. Did she now? I thought about how Mom had told her friends I was unemployed, living off my husband's architectural practice. Yes, specifically mentioned knowing the person behind Phoenix Project. Said you were her, what was it? Distant niece who shares the family name. Causes confusion, apparently. The lie was so bold, so unnecessary, it actually impressed me. She'd rather claim a fictional successful niece than acknowledge her actual successful daughter. Marcus, I said, setting down the pen, about that board approval authority. Yours to exercise as you see fit. No conflicts of interest concerns. We trust your judgment completely. Perfect. October 19th, 11 p.m. The house was quiet, Emma asleep, David reading beside me in bed. I pulled out my phone and opened Venmo. Amount, $1,000. In the note field, I typed, "This represents the exact value you've shown my daughter. The other $1,849 can come from the 47 family members you convinced to skip her birthday." I attached a photo, Emma alone at her party table, 6 candles glowing on the untouched cake. "You sure about this?" David asked, watching me hover over send. She demanded money 3 days after orchestrating the cruelest rejection of a 6-year-old I've ever seen. Yes, I'm sure. Send. Sure. I immediately put my phone on silent and placed it face down on the nightstand. David pulled me close. How long before? She checks her phone obsessively. I give it 2 hours, max. And then? Then she learns what it feels like to have your expectations shattered. We lay there in the dark, and for the first time in years, I felt no guilt, no second-guessing, no wondering if I should have been the bigger person. My mother had drawn clear battle lines at my daughter's birthday party. She just didn't know I'd acquired ammunition she couldn't defend against. "I love you," David whispered. "I'm proud of you for finally standing up to her." "It's not about standing up," I said. "It's about standing apart. I'm done begging for crumbs of acceptance from someone who sees my daughter as a mistake." At 2:17 a.m., the landline rang. Then David's phone. Then the doorbell camera activated, showing my mother's car in our driveway. The war had begun. The doorbell camera captured everything in crystal clear resolution. Mom in her silk pajamas and coat, hair wild, pressing the doorbell repeatedly while screaming into her phone. "Isabella Marie Whitfield, $1, $1, you ungrateful, spiteful witch." The neighbor's light started flicking on. David grabbed his phone to check the security footage. "She's completely lost it." Mom's voicemail was unhinged. "Sophie is crying. The venue needs payment by tomorrow. You've ruined everything. Your father is having chest pains from the stress. How dare you humiliate me like this after everything I've done for you? At 2:31 a.m., the police arrived. The report would later read, noise complaint at 47 Maple Drive. Subject was creating a disturbance, screaming about family financial dispute. Subject claimed daughter owed her money for a celebration. Was advised to handle civil matters during business hours. My phone showed 37 missed calls. The family group chat that I could see through David's cousin's phone was exploding. 200 plus messages in 3 hours. Uncle Robert. Isabella has gone too far this time. Aunt Patricia. Poor Margaret, having to use retirement savings. Cousin Janet. She sent $1? That's sociopathic. Sophie. My sister is evil. She's trying to ruin my future. The best part? Mom's message to the group at 2:45 a.m. I had already announced Isabella would be sponsoring Sophie's entire party as an apology for her past behavior. Now I look like a fool. She'd lied about my contribution before even asking me for it. The entitlement was so pure, so distilled, it was almost beautiful. David pulled up the police report on his phone. Should we be worried? No, I said, surprisingly calm. Let her scream. Tomorrow she'll discover that $1 is actually more than she deserves. By sunrise, my phone had become a battlefield. 147 text messages, 89 missed calls, 23 voicemails. Every single family member had an opinion about my cruelty. Uncle Robert, how dare you humiliate your mother after she raised you despite your teenage mistakes? Aunt Patricia, that poor woman has done everything for you. This is how you repay her? Cousin Janet, I always defended you, but sending $1? That's sick, Isabella. The most painful text came from Sophie. You're ruining my life. Everyone's canceling because they think our family is trash now. Stanford will hear about this. I hate you. Mom was right about you all along. I screenshot everything. Every message, every accusation, every cruel word about my teenage mistake. Their continued code for Emma. David made me breakfast while I methodically documented the harassment. 47 relatives, I said, scrolling through the messages. 47 people who couldn't attend a 6-year-old's birthday suddenly have very strong opinions about family loyalty. The hypocrisy is stunning, David agreed. Cousin Michael's message was particularly rich. Your mother gave you everything. How can you be so ungrateful? Everything? She gave me an eviction notice at 17. She erased Emma from family photos. She told relatives I was unemployed when I was making 6 figures. She called my daughter that child, like Emma was something shameful instead of the light of my life. But I didn't respond to any of them. Not one. Because in 4 days, at the Tech Vision Gala, they'd all learn exactly who they'd been calling a failure. And Mom would discover that her board position dreams depended on the daughter she'd thrown away. I had screenshots. I had contracts. I had clause 7.3. Let them pile on. The higher they stacked their cruelty, the harder they'd fall. October 21st started with Mom's Facebook post going viral in our community. She'd written a masterpiece of manipulation. Heartbroken. After years of supporting my eldest daughter through her teenage pregnancy, unemployment, and ongoing struggles, she sent me $1 when I asked for help with her sister's college celebration. Some people forget who stood by them, praying for her to find peace and stability. At least I have Sophie, my Stanford-bound angel. Blessed family. First, single mom struggles. Single mom struggles. She'd been married to my father for 35 years. The comments poured in. 147 shares in 6 hours, hundreds of sympathetic responses about ungrateful children and this generation's entitlement. Then my phone rang. Marcus Chen. Isabella, oddest thing. Someone forwarded me a Facebook post. A Margaret Whitfield claiming her daughter is unemployed and struggling, the same Margaret Whitfield applying for our board seat. He paused. The daughter she's describing sounds remarkably like you, except for the unemployment part. My stomach tightened. Marcus, is this your mother talking about you? The one who told our board you were her distant niece? Yes. I see. And she's claiming you're unemployed, while you're our highest paid consultant? She doesn't know about my position. Interesting. His voice was thoughtful. You know, she's in the final round for the board seat. Strong candidate, actually. She's been telling everyone she's guaranteed the position. Has she? Yes, name-dropping constantly. Says she knows all our top talent. Even claims she helped recruit the Phoenix project lead. He chuckled. That would be you, wouldn't it? The person she's calling unemployed on social media? The very same. Isabella, the gala is in 5 days. Will we see you there? Wouldn't miss it. Good. Wear something memorable. It's going to be an interesting evening. October 22nd, Tech Vision's legal conference room. 3 lawyers, Marcus and me, reviewing every line of Clause 7.3. So you have absolute veto power over board nominations, Jennifer, the lead counsel confirmed, including your mother's. Correct? And you're planning to exercise this at the gala? No, I said, watching their surprise. I'm not going to block her beforehand. That would be too easy, too private. She's spent years humiliating me and my daughter publicly. The correction needs to be equally public. Marcus leaned back, understanding dawning. You want her to think she has it until the moment she doesn't. She told 200 people she was guaranteed this position. She's been trading on it for months, getting invited to exclusive events, leveraging it for social capital. Taking it away quietly would teach her nothing. Jennifer pulled up Mom's application. She's actually qualified. Former bank executive, good network, strong recommendations. From people who don't know the real her, I interrupted. Look at her social media. She publicly calls her own grandchild that child. She lies about her daughter's employment status. Is that the integrity Tech Vision wants on its board? Point taken. Marcus stood. The gala presentation about Phoenix Project. I want you to lead it. Full disclosure of your role, your achievements. Let the room understand exactly who you are. And my mother? Will be in the front row as befits a board candidate. His smile was sharp. We'll seat her at the VIP table. Give her the best view of her daughter's success. David texted me. You're playing chess while she's playing checkers. No, she wasn't even playing. She thought she'd already won. The gala was in 4 days. If you've ever been the family's scapegoat, you know that moment when you realize you've been accepting crumbs while serving others a feast. But what happens when the table turns? If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and share your own story in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family approval and self-respect? Let me know below. Now, let me tell you what happened at the gala. October 26th, 5 p.m. The Fairmont Ballroom sparkled with ambition. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures bearing the Tech Vision logo, 500 of Tech's most powerful players in designer evening wear. Mom arrived in a $3,000 navy dress I recognized from her Instagram story, tagged, "Had board ready." She worked the room like a professional, air-kissing contacts, laughing at jokes from potential colleagues, making sure everyone knew she was Margaret Whitfield, soon to be board member. I watched from the mezzanine as she told the same story to different groups. My daughter Sophie, you know, the Stanford one, she's following in my footsteps. Business runs in the family. I've been mentoring Tech Vision's top talent for years. When someone asked about other children, her response was practiced. Sophie's my focus, quality over quantity, you know. She was erasing me in real time, at my own company's event. David stood beside me in his tuxedo, Emma safe at home with his parents. You okay? Look at her, I said, watching Mom charm the CFO. She's in her element. This is her kingdom, wealth, status, power. She thinks she owns this room. In 10 minutes, she'll discover she's been renting. Below, Jennifer Walsh from the board approached Mom. I couldn't hear the conversation, but saw Mom's animated gestures, her confident laugh. She was probably explaining how she'd guided TechVision's creative direction from afar, how her banking experience would revolutionize their governance. Marcus's voice came through the speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Tonight's presentation will change how you see TechVision's future. Mom sat front and center at the VIP table, adjusting her pearls, ready for her coronation. She had no idea she was actually attending her own professional funeral. Board member Jennifer Walsh leaned toward Mom at the VIP table. Margaret, is your other daughter coming tonight? The one in creative fields? Mom's smile tightened. I only have Sophie. She's at Stanford. Strange. I could have sworn Marcus mentioned an Isabella Whitfield. Said she was brilliant, transformative even. Oh, that. Mom's recovery was smooth but not quite fast enough. I saw the micro-panic in her eyes from across the room. That's my distant niece. Same last name, causes confusion. She's struggling, poor thing. I try to help when I can. How generous of you, Jennifer said, but her tone suggested skepticism. Marcus speaks very highly of her. Marcus is kind to everyone, Mom deflected. He probably feels sorry for her. You know how these creative types are, all dreams, no business sense. Another board member, Thomas Chen, joined them. Margaret, didn't you mention in your interview that you helped recruit our Phoenix project lead? Of course, Mom said, confidence returning. I've been an unofficial advisor. My banking background gives me unique insights into creative financing. Creative financing? Thomas looked puzzled. Phoenix is about digital transformation, not financing. Mom's laugh was crystalline and false. All business is about money, Thomas. That's what young people don't understand. Jennifer and Thomas exchanged glances. The first crack in Mom's facade had appeared, hairline thin but visible to those who knew where to look. The lights dimmed slightly. Marcus was taking the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we reveal the mind behind Phoenix Project, the initiative that increased our revenue by 340% in just 18 months. Mom straightened, probably imagining how she'd work this into her board acceptance speech. She was about to learn that imagination and reality were very different things. Marcus commanded the stage with the confidence of someone about to change everything. TechVision's Phoenix project isn't just a success, it's a revolution. And tonight, you'll meet the architect of that revolution. Mom whispered to her tablemate, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. I helped identify this talent. It's all about recognizing potential. This person, Marcus continued, turned down offers from Amazon, Google, and Apple to stay with us. They saw something in TechVision that even we didn't see in ourselves. The screens behind him lit up with revenue charts, each spike corresponding to a project milestone. The numbers were staggering: 4.7 million, 9.3 million, $15.8 million in sequential quarters. When we first approached this individual, they were already successful. But success and transformation are different beasts. This person doesn't just succeed, they revolutionize. Mom was nodding along, as if she knew exactly who Marcus meant, as if she'd had any part in this triumph. They negotiated a contract unlike any we've offered before, not just compensation, though at $2.3 million they're our highest paid consultant, but actual power, including approval rights over board appointments. I saw Mom's face shift slightly. Board approval rights? She hadn't known that detail. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Chief Creative Consultant, the mind behind Phoenix, the future of TechVision. Marcus paused, building anticipation. Isabella Calloway. The spotlight swung toward the entrance. Mom's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. Every head turned, first to the broken glass, then to the entrance where I stood. Her mouth formed one word, soundless but unmistakable. No. Oh yes, Mother. Yes. Can you imagine the look on her face? After years of being called a disappointment, walking into that room as the highest paid consultant in the company's history? But here's the thing. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. If you've ever had your moment of vindication, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. And if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. The best part is coming up. I walked through that ballroom in my black Armani suit like I was born to own it. 500 faces turned my way, but I only saw one. Mom's, draining of color like watercolor in rain. The shattered wine glass at her feet caught the light, creating tiny rainbows that seemed almost poetic. Sophie, seated beside her in a dress I recognized from Mom's credit card complaints, gasped audibly, "Bella? What are you doing here?" I didn't acknowledge them. Not yet. I walked past their table, close enough that Mom could see the Tech Vision executive pin on my lapel, close enough that she could smell my perfume, the same one she'd criticized as trying too hard last Christmas. Taking the microphone from Marcus, I felt 15 years of conditioning try to make me shrink. Make nice. Don't cause a scene. Be the bigger person. But Emma's tear-stained face from her birthday flashed in my mind. "Good evening," I said, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. "I'm Isabella Calloway, though some of you might have heard of me as the family disappointment." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Mom's face had gone from pale to ashen. 5 years ago, I was told I'd never amount to anything, that my choices had ruined my future, that my daughter, my brilliant, kind, extraordinary daughter, was a mistake that would define my limits. I looked directly at Mom then. I decided to prove that wrong, not out of spite but out of love. Love for my daughter, who deserved better than the narrative being written for her. Jennifer Walsh was staring between Mom and me, the family resemblance suddenly unmistakable. "Tonight, I'll show you what disappointment can build when it stops apologizing for existing." The screens behind me illuminated with the Phoenix Project roadmap, 18 months of innovation condensed into visual poetry, every milestone, every breakthrough, every revolution we'd engineered. Phoenix began with a simple question, I said, clicking through slides. What if we stopped competing and started transforming? What if instead of catching up to the market, we created a new one? The revenue projections appeared, $47 million over 2 years, conservative estimates that had the CFO nodding appreciatively. My team has filed 3 patents under this initiative. The patent numbers appeared on screen, my name listed as lead inventor. We've reduced client acquisition costs by 67% while increasing lifetime value by 340%. Mom sat frozen, her hands gripping the table like she might fall through the floor without it. Marcus joined me on stage. "What Isabella isn't telling you is that she turned down our first 5 offers. She only joined when we agreed to her terms, including an unprecedented clause, consultant approval for all board positions during her contract period." The words landed like a bomb at the VIP table. Mom's carefully networked tablemates suddenly understood the implications. "Isabella's vision has saved Tech Vision," Marcus continued. "She didn't just give us a project, she gave us a future." I clicked to the final slide, a photo of Emma at her science fair, holding a first-place trophy, wearing a shirt that said, "Future CEO." "Everything I do," I said, looking directly at Mom, "is for the next generation, to show them that their worth isn't determined by others' limitations." Sophie was crying silently, mascara running. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Now," I said, "let's discuss the future of Tech Vision's governance." The first question came from an investor I didn't recognize. "Ms. Calloway, any relation to Margaret Whitfield, our board candidate?" The room held its breath. "She's my biological mother," I said simply. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Several people pulled out phones, probably checking Mom's social media where she'd claimed to have one daughter. Jennifer Walsh stood slowly. "Margaret, you told the nomination committee you had one daughter at Stanford. You said Isabella was your distant niece." Mom's voice cracked. There's been a misunderstanding." "What kind of misunderstanding? Thomas Chen asked. You specifically said your niece was unemployed and struggling, but Isabella is our highest paid consultant? I was protecting family privacy. Mom's usual eloquence had abandoned her. You said you mentored our top talent, another board member added. That you helped recruit the Phoenix lead. Were you referring to your daughter, the one you told us didn't exist? Sophie stood abruptly. Mom, what did you do? Sit down, Sophie, Mom hissed. But Sophie remained standing, staring at me with dawning comprehension. You lied about Bella? About Emma? Why? I intervened smoothly. I believe everyone should be evaluated on their own merits, not their family connections. That's why I've kept my relationship with Mrs. Whitfield private. The diplomatic phrasing made it worse somehow. Mrs. Whitfield, not Mom. The professional distance spoke volumes. But surely, Jennifer pressed, a board member should demonstrate integrity in all aspects, including family relationships? The question hung in the air like a sword. Mom's carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time, in front of the very people she'd tried so hard to impress. I think, I said quietly, that's a question for the board to consider. The board chair, Richard Steinberg, stood at his table. This is highly irregular, but given the circumstances, I think transparency is needed. Margaret, your board application is currently pending final approval. Mom found her voice, desperate and thin. Richard, you promised. I promised it would go to final review. That review requires Isabella's approval per her contract clause 7.3. The revelation rippled through the room like an electric current. Mom's supporters, the people she'd cultivated, promised favors to, name-dropped with, all turned to stare at her with new understanding. You mean, someone said slowly, Margaret needs her daughter's approval? The daughter she said was unemployed? The daughter she told us was a teenage disaster? Another added. The one whose child she called that mistake. This from someone who'd clearly seen the Facebook posts. Mom's friend Victoria, who'd been her biggest champion, stood up slowly. Margaret, you told me Isabella was living off her husband, that she was an embarrassment. You said that's why she wasn't in family photos. I was protecting Sophie's opportunities. Mom's excuse sounded hollow even to her. By lying? Victoria's voice was ice. By denying your own grandchild? Marcus returned to the microphone. Isabella will review all board applications by Monday, with decisions announced Tuesday morning. Mom lurched to her feet. Isabella, please. Mrs. Whitfield, I said formally. I'll review your application with the same objectivity I apply to all professional matters. The use of her formal name again, the professional distance, the implication that our relationship was purely transactional, it was worse than any confrontation. Now, I continued, shall we discuss Q4 projections? Mom sank back into her chair, defeated. Around her, the whispers had already started. She cornered me in the powder room during the break, her carefully applied makeup cracking along the stress lines. How could you do this to me? Her voice was raw, desperate. I sent exactly what Emma received for her birthday, nothing wrapped in humiliation. I touched up my lipstick, steady-handed. Though technically I sent you $1, that's infinitely more than the zero acknowledgement you gave my daughter. I was protecting our family's reputation. From what? A 6-year-old who just wanted her grandmother's love? You don't understand, Mom hissed. Sophie had opportunities. That required Emma to not exist? I turned to face her fully. You told people I was unemployed while I was making 7 figures. You called my daughter that child while she won science fairs. You erased us from your life story, and now you're shocked we wrote our own? I'm your mother. Biologically, yes. But mothers don't orchestrate the complete isolation of their 6-year-old granddaughters. Mothers don't tell 47 family members to boycott a child's birthday party. Her face crumpled. The board position. I need it. I already told everyone. You told everyone a lot of things. That I was your distant niece. That you mentored Tech Vision's talent. That you only had one daughter. I picked up my clutch. None of it was true. Please, Isabella, I'm begging you. Funny. That's exactly what Emma did at her birthday party. Begged for someone, anyone, to show up. The difference is she's 6 and innocent. You're 58 and calculated every bit of this cruelty. I walked toward the door, then paused. Your application will receive the same consideration you showed my daughter. Fair, isn't it? Her sob followed me out, but I didn't look back. Within 24 hours, my phone became a confessional booth for 47 guilty relatives. Cousin Janet. Isabella, we had no idea about your position. Your mom said you were struggling. Uncle Robert. Margaret told us you were living off David's charity. If we'd known the truth. Aunt Patricia sent a $500 e-transfer. For Emma's birthdays we missed. Your mother said attending would enable your poor choices. The text that surprised me most came from Grandpa, Mom's father, silent for 10 years. Your grandmother would be ashamed of what Margaret became. Can I meet my great-granddaughter? But it was Sophie's call that broke through my defenses. Bella? Her voice was small, younger than her 18 years. Mom told me you hated me, that you were jealous of my success, that Emma was better off without our family because we'd confuse her. Sophie, she made me believe you were a cautionary tale, the sister who threw everything away, but you're incredible. And Emma, God, I've missed 6 years of my niece's life because Mom said knowing her would damage my future. It's not your fault. But I believed her. I chose Stanford Prep over my sister. I let her erase you both for my benefit. She was crying now. The worst part? Mom's been taking credit for your success all week, telling everyone she secretly guided you, that your achievements prove her parenting worked despite your mistake. The narcissism was breathtaking. Even after exposure, Mom was trying to claim my success as her own. Sophie, you were a child. She was your mother. Of course you believed her. It's you. Can I meet Emma? Properly? As her aunt who loves her? Let's take it slow, I said. But yes. October 29th, 9 a.m. I submitted my formal review of Margaret Whitfield's board application to Richard Steinberg. Based on demonstrated concerns regarding transparent communication, integrity in personal relationships, and public misrepresentation of family members' professional status, I cannot recommend Mrs. Whitfield for a position requiring fiduciary trust. I attached screenshots. Mom's Facebook posts calling me unemployed, the family group chat forbidding Emma's party attendance, her claim to board members that I was a distant niece. The board voted €7 against her appointment. The rejection letter was formal but devastating. After careful consideration, the board has concerns regarding transparent communication and integrity that preclude appointment at this time. Mom's carefully networked connections evaporated overnight. Victoria, her biggest champion, withdrew her recommendation letter from 3 other boards Mom had applied to. The country club quietly removed her from the membership committee. The charity she'd chaired asked her to step down, but the cruelest blow came from an unexpected source. The Seattle Business Journal ran a story about the Phoenix rising at TechVision, featuring my photo, and mentioning that I'd overcome family members who publicly denied her existence while privately demanding financial support. They didn't name Mom directly, but anyone who'd seen her Facebook posts knew exactly who they meant. Marcus called me that afternoon. The board wanted me to thank you for your professional handling of a personal situation. It wasn't personal, I said. She failed to meet the integrity standards required for the position. Isabella, she's still your mother. No, I corrected. She's a woman who gave birth to me. Mothers don't systematically destroy their 6-year-old granddaughter's sense of worth. The distinction mattered. Biology doesn't automatically confer the title of mother. That's earned through love, protection, and presence. Margaret Whitfield had failed all 3. Someone at the gala leaked the story to LinkedIn. The post went viral within hours. Family scapegoat to Fortune 500 consultant. How Isabella Calloway Overcame Family Rejection to Lead TechVision's 47 Emerge Phoenix project. 45,000 reactions in 48 hours. The comments section became a support group for family scapegoats worldwide. This is why I don't mix family and business. Some parents see their children as extensions of their ego, not separate humans. That 6-year-old's empty birthday party broke my heart. 3 Fortune 500 companies reached out with competitive offers. A publisher wanted my story. A documentary filmmaker called David's office trying to reach me. Mom's Facebook went private after hundreds of strangers called her out for the unemployed daughter posts. Someone had screenshot everything before she could delete it, creating a Twitter thread showing the timeline of her lies against my actual achievements. The local news picked it up. Seattle tech executive exposes family's rejection in viral corporate reveal. But Mom wasn't done. She tried one last manipulation, posting a new public message. I'm proud of my daughter's success, which I always knew she'd achieve. Family relationships are complex, but a mother's love never wavers. The comments destroyed her. Ma'am, you called her unemployed 5 days ago. You literally told people she was your niece. A mother's love never wavers? You banned people from her child's birthday. Sophie texted me. Mom's lost it. She's telling Dad you manipulated everything, that she was always supportive in private. He's not buying it. For the first time in my life, Mom was facing consequences she couldn't network her way out of. November 1st, 7 p.m. Mom stood on my doorstep with Sophie, desperation radiating from every line of her body. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into my living room. Sophie's Stanford funding fell through because of your stunt. If you don't approve my board position somewhere, she can't attend. Sophie looked uncomfortable, confused. Mom said you sabotaged my scholarship. I pulled out my phone, dialed Stanford's financial aid office on speaker. This is Isabella Calloway. I'm calling to verify the scholarship status for Sophie Whitfield, ID number 447829. One moment. Yes, Sophie Whitfield has a full merit scholarship for all 4 years, confirmed and processed. No changes to her status. Mom's face went white. Sophie turned to her slowly. You lied? Again? I thought if Isabella understood the stakes. You used me as leverage? Sophie's voice rose. Like some bargaining chip? Sophie, sweetie, I was trying to protect your future. By lying about it? By making me think Bella destroyed my dreams? Sophie was shaking. What else have you lied about? I pulled out my laptop, showing Sophie the screenshots folder. Every family group message. Every birthday photo of Emma alone. Every post calling me unemployed while I was signing million-dollar contracts. Sophie scrolled in silence, tears streaming. You told me Bella was jealous, that she'd poison Emma against our family. But you were the poison. Sophie, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Sophie stood, moving away from Mom. You made me choose between my sister and my future. You stole 6 years of my relationship with my niece. You turned me into your accomplice. Using Sophie as a weapon was Mom's biggest mistake. Even golden children eventually see the truth. After Mom left, escorted out by David when she started screaming about ungrateful daughters, Sophie stayed behind. Show me everything, she said quietly. I need to see it all. We sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, while I walked her through 6 years of systematic erasure. The birthday parties where Mom told everyone not to come. The Christmas cards that never included Emma. The family reunions we weren't invited to because Sophie needs to focus on her future. She made me think you were jealous of me, Sophie whispered, staring at a photo of Emma's empty 4th birthday party. Every achievement I had, she'd say, at least one daughter makes me proud. I thought I was helping by succeeding, like it balanced out your failure. You were a child, Sophie. She manipulated you. But I'm not a child now, and I still believed her. Even at the gala, my first thought was that you were trying to hurt her, not that she'd been lying. She pulled up Mom's Facebook. She's still doing it. Posted an hour ago about children who betray their mother's sacrifices. I showed her my work evaluations, the patents, the contracts, evidence of the success Mom had hidden from everyone, especially Sophie. You know what the worst part is? Sophie said. I missed growing up with a sister who could have taught me so much. I missed being an aunt to an amazing little girl, all because Mom needed me to be the only success story. It's not too late, I said. Emma would love to know her Aunt Sophie, the real one, not the stranger Mom created. Do you think she'll forgive me? She's 6. She doesn't need to forgive. She just needs to be loved. Sophie nodded, wiping her tears. Can I meet her tomorrow? Start over? November 3rd. I sent Mom a certified letter requiring signature confirmation. Margaret, after considerable reflection, I am establishing the following non-negotiable boundaries for any future contact. 1. You will provide Emma a written apology acknowledging your treatment of her, to be read and approved by her therapist before delivery. 2. You will attend a minimum of 6 months of family therapy with a licensed professional specializing in narcissistic family dynamics. 3. You will not discuss my career, finances, or achievements without explicit written permission. 4. You will not contact Emma directly until completing requirement number 2 and receiving approval from her therapeutic team. 5. Any family gathering including both Emma and Sophie will have equal recognition. Same gifts, same attention, same photographs. 6. You will correct publicly every false statement made about my employment and Emma's value to this family. These are not suggestions or starting points for negotiation. They are requirements. Violation of any boundary will result in permanent no-contact orders. I am not asking you to love my daughter. Love cannot be mandated. I am requiring you to either treat her with respect or remove yourself from her life entirely. Your choice. Isabella Calloway. The letter was returned with Mom's signature and a single line. You've destroyed this family. No, I'd simply stopped allowing her to destroy mine. David read the receipt confirmation. Think she'll comply? No. But now it's documented. When she violates the boundaries, and she will, we have legal grounds for a restraining order. That seems harsh. What's harsh is a 6-year-old asking why her grandmother hates her. Everything else is just paperwork. Emma deserved protection more than Mom deserved reconciliation. That wasn't cruel. That was parenting. November 10th. Grandpa, Mom's father, stood at my door holding a tower of wrapped presents and a photo album I'd never seen. 6 birthdays, 6 Christmases, he said, gesturing to the gifts. I let your mother control the narrative. I failed you both. Emma peeked around my leg, curious but cautious. She'd learned wariness about family. Emma, this is your great-grandfather. He knelt to her level, joints protesting. I'm sorry I'm late to your life, sweetheart. Grandmas and grandpas shouldn't miss birthdays. Grandma says I'm a mistake, Emma said matter-of-factly, the way children state devastating truths. His face crumpled. No, honey, your grandmother is mistaken. You're a miracle I almost missed. He opened the photo album, pictures of Mom as a child, looking remarkably like Emma. Your grandmother was once told she was a disappointment too, he said quietly, more to me than Emma. Her mother, your great-grandmother, favored her brother completely. History repeating, but worse. That doesn't excuse... No, it doesn't. But it explains. She became what hurt her, thinking it was strength. He pulled out a check. This is for Emma's college fund. It's what I would have been contributing all along if I hadn't been a coward. $50,000. Dad, you don't have to. It's not charity. It's great-grandparent privilege, 6 years overdue. 23 other relatives reached out that month, genuinely wanting to reconnect. We held a make-up birthday party for Emma, small, careful, with clear boundaries. She was tentative at first, then bloomed when she realized these people actually wanted to know her. Some bridges, once rebuilt, are actually stronger, Aunt Patricia said, watching Emma show off her science project. We just had to demolish Margaret's toll booth first. April 2024. 6 months after the gala, life had found its new rhythm. Mom attended therapy. I knew because the therapist sent monthly confirmation per our legal agreement. She'd sent 3 letters to Emma, all rejected by Emma's therapist for manipulative language and failure to accept responsibility. Each revision got slightly better, though true accountability seemed beyond her grasp. Sophie thrived at Stanford, calling Emma every Sunday for Aunt Sophie Science Hour. She changed her major from pre-med to business, saying, "I want to build something real, like you did, not just follow Mom's prescription for success." Emma had started therapy in November, learning words like boundaries and emotional safety. When a classmate's grandmother made a comment about children from broken homes, Emma responded, "My home isn't broken. Some people just aren't invited in." My promotion to Chief Innovation Officer came with a $3.2 million package and a Times profile. The executive who chose truth over toxic family. Mom tried to claim credit in a Facebook post, proud of the daughter I always knew would succeed. But the internet has receipts. The post was deleted within hours. Marcus asked me once if I regretted the public nature of the revelation. "I regret it had to happen," I said. "But not how it happened." Private conversations with Mom just became gaslighting opportunities. Public accountability was the only language she understood. David and I renewed our vows that spring, with Emma as our flower girl and Sophie as a bridesmaid. Mom wasn't invited, but she sent a card, "Wishing you well." It was the first communication from her that didn't center herself. Progress, perhaps, or just another manipulation. Time would tell. But for now, we had peace. And peace was worth more than her approval ever was. October 15th, 2024. Emma's 7th birthday. 73 people filled our backyard. David's family, my chosen family, work colleagues who'd become friends, and 22 blood relatives who'd earned their invitations through consistent respect for boundaries. Sophie flew in from Stanford, wearing a handmade, world's best aunt shirt Emma had designed. Grandpa sat in the front row for the cake cutting, tears streaming as Emma blew out her candles. "What did you wish for?" he asked. "Can't tell," Emma grinned. "But it already came true." At 3 p.m., exactly when last year's party had sat empty, a delivery arrived. A small package, no return address, but Mom's handwriting was unmistakable. Inside, a silver bracelet with Emma's birthstone and a card. "For the granddaughter I failed to see, may you always know your worth. M.W." No grandma, no claim to a title she hadn't earned, just initials and an acknowledgement. Emma looked at it thoughtfully. "Should I keep it?" "That's your choice, baby." She put it in her jewelry box. "Maybe someday I'll wear it, when it doesn't hurt to look at." 7 years old and already wiser than most adults about complicated feelings. That evening, after guests left, I made a decision. I donated $50,000 to a local foundation supporting single mothers, specifically those estranged from their families. The check memo read, "For the mothers creating new narratives." David found me on the porch later, watching Emma play with Sophie in the yard. "Any regrets?" he asked. "No," I said, meaning it. Success isn't revenge. It's indifference to those who doubted you and investment in those who don't. Emma's laughter rang out, pure and unashamed. She'd never doubt her worth. That was the real victory. That night, after everyone was asleep, I wrote a letter I'd never send. "Margaret, thank you for teaching me what not to be. Your rejection taught me to embrace. Your conditions taught me unconditional love. Your erasure taught me to be unmistakably present. Every wound you inflicted became a lesson in how not to parent. Emma will never wonder if she's enough. She'll never beg for crumbs of affection. She'll never shrink herself to fit someone else's narrative. She'll never choose between authenticity and acceptance, because in our home, they're the same thing. You spent so much energy trying to erase us that you missed the irony. We became impossible to ignore. Your cruelty was the catalyst for my success. Your rejection became our freedom. I don't forgive you. Forgiveness implies reconciliation, and some bridges are better burned. But I don't hate you either. Hate requires energy I'd rather spend on Emma's science projects and Sophie's Sunday calls and David's architectural dreams. You're just a stranger who shares my DNA. A cautionary tale I'll tell Emma when she's older about how hurt people, and how cycles can be broken by choosing differently. The saddest part? You could have been part of this beautiful life. You could have known your granddaughter's brilliance, witnessed her kindness, shared her joy. Instead, you'll see it through Facebook posts from relatives who chose love over loyalty to your narrative. Your loss. Entirely, devastatingly, permanently your loss. The daughter you never knew. I sealed it in an envelope, then filed it away. Some letters heal the writer more than they'd ever heal the reader. Looking at Emma's birthday photos, surrounded by love she never had to earn, I knew we'd won by refusing to play. If you've made it this far, thank you for witnessing my journey from family scapegoat to CEO suite. The truth is, we can't choose our blood family, but we can choose our boundaries. We can choose to break cycles. We can choose to protect our children from the pain we endured. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that their worth isn't determined by family approval. Drop a comment. What boundaries have you had to set? Remember, you are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Until next time, this is Isabella, reminding you that the best revenge is a life well lived.